Hi, good evening.
Hi, Andrew. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back. Ready for
Yeah, you had
pranayama.
a busy week last week, huh?
Yeah, actually, like not great news. I ended up getting laid off my job, which
Oh man, I'm sorry to
part
hear.
of like the whole COVID thing. So it's just like the drama, the this, the that. So I'm like, you know what? It was good to take a week off, but this week, I'm like, better to have a routine, like, kind of get back in the groove.
Yeah, definitely. Did you go to UC Berkeley?
I did, yeah.
Oh, nice. I visited the campus back in about 2010, I want to say, because I was thinking about applying to do a PhD over in the States, but in the end, I decided to take other life choices, and there we go.
Well,
But
you're probably
UC Berkeley was
happier.
one of the ones.
Did
Yeah,
you
it was
like
a
it?
super nice campus, beautiful. And Berkeley, like the town, was really gorgeous as well. But I love the Bay Area in general. And like, I went down to Stanford as well, and that was super nice. And
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Yeah, I went to Berkeley for business school, which was amazing, and it was a great grad school environment because you're like kind of urban. You're
mm,
not. I went to like a more sort of middle of nowhere undergrad, and
yeah,
it was great. Now I live in San Francisco, so nice.
yeah. No, I mean, I'm kind of glad that I didn't after the explosion of prices that happened there, sort of over the 2010s. But you know,
Especially as a PhD student, like your life would not have been.
yeah, and places like Berkeley don't guarantee like all of the funding. So you're kind of, from what I can understand, you're like kind of scrabbling around to secure funding from all kinds of different scholarships. And yeah,
Okay.
I think it can be kind of touch and go for certain people.
Oh yeah, probably. Well, that's cool. Glad I've been there.
All righty. Hi, everyone. How are we all doing this evening?
Good.
How
How
are
is
you?
everyone?
Sorry?
Pretty good.
I said, how is everyone else?
Glad to be back.
Good. I'm feeling energized. I was just doing my inversions practice just before. I needed something to get me going. And there's nothing like some handstands, forearm stands, headstands, and the rest to get the blood moving around the body a little bit.
That's for sure.
Hi,
Hmm.
Andrew. On the homework, I did not do a body scan meditation. I just did a meditation.
Fine.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to let you know.
No, I'm not exactly the kind of teacher who's going to wrap you over the knuckles with a ruler for that. This is for you at the end of the day. It's to help you work on whatever you need to work on. So let's do some
Yeah.
teaching, shall we? So who would like to start their teaching this evening? I'm going to nominate a victim otherwise.
Yeah, I did not do the homework, so someone
That's
else
fine.
can definitely go.
You can teach anything. So just pick something from your repertoire. So I'm going to nominate Juliana to start teaching today. Then Catherine can continue with whatever she would like to teach, and we'll finish with Dan. Okay, so we'll aim for around about 8 minutes of teaching each. Does that make sense? And then I'll give some feedback. And Diane, I just got your email so I can read along what you've written at the same time.
Yeah, every time I read it, I change it. So I'll be excited to hear your ideas on it.
All right. Okay.
Do you want me to send mine to you, or are you okay with
It's totally up to you. I mean, you can send it to me afterwards if you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel really nervous, just so everyone knows.
That's just fine.
Okay,
I don't
so
feel nervous for you.
so I decided to make a meditation that's kind of over emotions and trying to connect with your emotions, especially like in this crazy time, since like people are just like feeling angry and frustrated. So this meditation is dedicated to that. Okay, so vamos a empezar en la colchoneta con los piernas cruzados. Puedes sacar tus glúteos aquí, si se siente bien. Inhalamos, traemos los brazos hacia arriba, hacia atrás y hacia abajo. Inhala, abrimos los brazos hacia el cielo. Juntamos las palmas. Exhala, traemos las palmas enfrente de nuestro corazón. Repetimos otra vez. Inhalamos, abrimos los brazos hacia el cielo. Exhalamos por el centro en oración. Cerramos los ojitos aquí. Inhala, respira. Exhala lentamente. Inhala, conectamos con nuestra respiración. Exhala suavemente. Inhalamos, conectamos. Exhalamos, respiramos. Inhalamos, empezamos a reconocer emociones fuertes en nosotros. Puede ser amor, la rabia, sentimientos de frustración. A lo mejor puede ir en tu mente que conoces la emoción. A lo mejor permites que se quede. A lo mejor dices que debe de estar aquí. Como una ola de mar, es natural. Empezamos a investigar con interés. A lo mejor preguntas a ti solo, ¿en qué estoy creyendo cuando siento estos sentimientos? Donde esta emoción fuerte está en el cuerpo. ¿En qué estoy creyendo cuando siento este sentimiento? ¿Dónde está esta emoción fuerte en mi cuerpo? Y donde lo encuentras, lo sientes. Deja que tus sentimientos de enojo o felicidad sean tan grandes como son. Para ayudarte a sentir tus emociones, puedes dejar el rostro que muestre tus emociones. Para unos, cerramos las manos en puño. Mantenemos la sensación que sientes y traemos nuestros sentimientos con conciencia. Cuanto más se puede poner en servicio la energía de un mundo amoroso y justo. A sentir amor es a sentir feliz. A sentir la rabia significa que te importa tu bienestar. Inhalamos amor. Exhalamos paz. Inhalamos y empezamos a traer la atención a nuestra postura. Exhalamos, siente como el cuerpo se vuelve más pesado. Inhalamos, traemos la atención de adentro de nosotros hacia afuera de nosotros. Exhala, respira. Inhala, frota tus palmas. So, traemos las manos en el centro en oración y empezamos a frotarse las palmas. Dejamos los ojos cerrados aquí. Inhalamos y exhalamos. Inhala, amor. Exhala, paz. Inhalamos y exhalamos. Colocamos las manos en los hombros y los bajamos hacia los brazos. Tocamos los antebrazos, las manos, los dedos. Traemos las manos hacia el pecho, hacia el estómago, la zona lumbar, las caderas, los muslos.
Okay, well, I think that Juliana has momentarily disappeared, but it sounds as though she was finishing anyhow. So thank you ever so much to Juliana. Okay, we'll just give her a moment to come back. Does anybody have any questions so far? Now, go ahead, Catherine. You look as though you're about to ask something, but you're going to need to unmute yourself first.
Thanks. Do you want me to try to teach like a body scan? I mean, I can just try to do it. Is that what everyone else is doing?
I mean, that's totally up to you. I mean, I was teaching a specific method with the body scan last time. So, I mean, it's up to you. If you would find it more useful just to teach something else that's in your repertoire, I'm going to leave that choice up to you at the end of the day.
Okay, I just didn't know if you wanted to try to give consistent feedback, but
fine. Any language feedback is good.
Okay, yeah, I'm a little rusty. Okay, I think I might try to teach maybe some of the postures that, I mean, I don't know, I'm not married to teaching anything really specific. Okay, I can do, maybe like I will do maybe a couple of standing poses then.
Right. Perfect.
Okay. Cool. So, thanks to you. Okay, so nos empezamos en la colchoneta. So perfect. Nos ponemos, I think I'm still standing. Nos ponemos de pie. Right?
I'm just going to be taking notes, okay?
Okay. Nos ponemos de pie en la colchoneta. Y inhalamos, cerramos los ojos, expandamos el pecho y abrimos las manos. Extendemos las manos y comencemos en Tadasana. Enraizamos los pies en la tierra y respiramos respiramos like naturally, you want to say?
Naturalmente.
Naturalmente, gracias. Y empecemos a relajar tu cuerpo. Con los hombros hacemos círculos y elevamos los hombros hacia arriba y abajo. Y continuamos círculos 3 veces. Y inhalamos, extendemos los brazos hacia el cielo y nos doblamos hacia la tierra. Inhalamos, exhalamos y nos giramos por 3 respiraciones. Relajamos el cuello y la cabeza y empecemos continue on. Okay. Y in X, I'm trying to think here, where am I coming from here? Okay. Colocamos las manos en la cotoneta o en bloques. Inhalamos y flexionamos la rodilla. Oh, sorry. It's supposed to be in a fold.
You froze for a little while, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh, thanks, Diane. Okay, perfect. We'll start over. Okay, ready? So we're here. I'm back. Okay. We're over here. Inhalamos. Extendemos los brazos hacia el cielo y nos doblamos hacia la tierra. Inhalamos, alargamos la columna, manos en los muslos. Y exhalamos, nos doblamos, colocamos las manos en el piso. Inhalamos, flexionamos la rodilla derecha. Colocamos la mano en el centro. Y inhalamos, rotamos el cuerpo hacia el izquierdo. Y extendemos la mano izquierda hacia el cielo. Nos alargamos desde los dedos hacia el cielo y mandamos la energía hacia arriba. Nos mantenemos por una respiración más y observamos el espacio que hemos creado en el corazón. Y inhalamos y volvemos al centro. Y exhalamos, flexionamos la rodilla izquierda y nos giramos hacia la derecha. Elevamos la mano derecha hacia el cielo. Y expandemos el pecho. Y conectamos con la respiración. Buscamos el espacio en el pecho y nos mantenemos por 2 respiraciones más. Exhalamos, volvemos al centro y colocamos las manos en las espinillas o en el piso y relajamos todo el cuello, la cabeza. Traemos las manos a los codos en ragdoll. Relajamos el cuello y buscamos movimiento o movement. Y nos mantenemos por 2 respiraciones. Soltamos todo toda la estresa y conectamos con la respiración. Okay, I think that was a good enough get the rest off warm up. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Well done.
problem. Took me a minute, but I think I got back a little bit.
Good, excellent. So let's continue with Diane.
Physical view. Okay. Escaneo corporal. Túmbate en la colchoneta, boca arriba con los brazos y las piernas descruzados. Busca una cobija o un bolster para hacerte el más cómodo que puedas. Respira profundamente. Te permites que se hunda el cuerpo en la tierra. Cierre los ojos. Deja ir cualquier preocupación que puedas tener. Crea conciencia de los sonidos fuera de esta habitación. Quizás escuches los sonidos del viento entre los árboles y los cantos de las aves. En este momento, fíjate en los sonidos adentro de este salón, los movimientos de las cortinas, el ventilador. Por fin, observa los sonidos de tu propio cuerpo, la respiración, los latidos del corazón. Sucesivamente te voy a mencionar partes del cuerpo. Después de oír cada parte, vas a llevar tu conciencia a lo que has escuchado. Intenta visualizar el dicho parte corporal y relájalo. Relájalo en una manera suave y lleva tu conciencia. Para comenzar, lleva tu conciencia al pie izquierdo, los dedos del pie, el dedo gordo izquierdo, la planta del pie izquierdo, el empeine, el tobillo izquierdo, el talón izquierdo. Notas cualquier sensación que te sientas. Piensas en la espinilla izquierda, la pantorrilla, la rodilla, la rótula. Libra tensión en el muslo izquierdo, el isquiotibiale, la cadera izquierda, la cresta ilíaca, la nalga, el abdomen, la caja torácica, la columna, las costillas, el pecho, el corazón, el omóplato izquierdo, la clavícula. Envía relajación a la nuca, el cuello, la mandíbula, el mentón, las mejillas, la nariz, los ojos, las pestañas, la frente, el rostro entero, la coronilla, la cabeza entera, el brazo izquierdo, el antebrazo izquierdo, la muñeca izquierda, el dedo índice, el dedo corazón, el dedo anular, el dedo meñique izquierdo, el pulgar, la palma, el dorso de la mano izquierda entera. ¿Qué sensaciones físicas notas en el lado izquierdo del cuerpo? Ahora lleva tu conciencia al lado derecho. Concéntrate en el pie derecho, los dedos del pie derecho, el dedo gordo, la planta del pie derecho, el empeine, el tobillo derecho, el talón. Piensas en la espinilla derecha, la pantorrilla, la rodilla, la rótula derecha. Libra tensión en el muslo derecho, el isquiotibiale derecho, la cadera, la cresta ilíaca derecha, la nalga, el omóplato derecho, el brazo, el antebrazo derecho, la muñeca, la mano derecha, el dedo índice, el dedo corazón, el dedo anular derecho, el dedo meñique, el pulgar derecho, la palma, el dorso de la mano. ¿Qué sensaciones físicas notas en el lado derecho del cuerpo? Ahora enfócate en ambos pies, ambas piernas, el tronco entero, la espalda entera, las manos y los brazos enteros, la cabeza entera, todo el cuerpo. ¿Notas cómo está la mente en este momento? ¿Has sentido reacciones físicas o emocionales durante este escaneo corporal? ¿Pudiste liberar cualquier tensión que hayas tenido? Puedes practicar la plena atención en cualquier momento. That's it. Kind of an abrupt ending.
Bueno, entonces toma un momento para mover los deditos de los pies y las manos. Vuelven a sentir el cuerpo, abre los ojos. You know how to do this, Diane. You can give a nice finishing to these things just off the top of your head, I'm sure.
Well, I was worried it was going on for too long because I rushed it. When I say it kind of slowly, it's like 7 minutes, and I didn't want to make people suffer through 7 minutes of me.
No, your voice was really nice. I was feeling it whenever you were saying it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Good job, Diane.
Thank you. I didn't get a chance to say that I enjoyed yours also.
Oh, thank you. I don't even know what you guys heard. Ugh, I feel awful that I lost connection.
That's okay. No, that's just a Zoom thing. It's so weird. It happens to everybody. But the parts I did hear, I really liked, and I could follow along. And when both of you wondered what I was doing, that was because there was like a frozen moment and I didn't know. But when I could hear you, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. So that was very nice.
Thank you for the feedback.
My kitty participated too.
So Juliana, thank you so much for the information. It was a really lovely sentiment, and I think it really fits with what a lot of people are feeling right now, and what they need to hear. So I think as a meditation, it's a really, really lovely one. As a general sort of piece of feedback, I think I would recommend you to just have a practice of that meditation a few times and work a little on your pronunciation. Because when you're kind of just speaking your Spanish freestyle off the top of your head, your pronunciation is so lovely, and you're able to express with such clarity what you want to say. However, I think because you'd written this out in advance and you were feeling a little bit nervous, you maybe kind of tripped over a couple of your words there. The other thing that I would recommend is try and simplify some of your sentences, because I felt that some of the sentiments got a little bit kind of tied up and confused, and some of the meaning was lost as a result, which is a shame, because I think that with something like this, you want it to be really as simple and direct as possible in terms of a message. So instead of thinking in English and kind of figuring out how you can translate that across into Spanish, see if you can think in Spanish. Okay, how can I compose this like most simply from the Spanish that I have in my vocabulary? Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. I will take that advice. Thank you.
I mean, I think that the sequences that you've been leading over the last couple of weeks, they've just been like, it's like night and day compared to when you were first starting the Spanish course, and you were kind of nervous and you were trying to do stuff that you were learning on paper and so on. And when you just kind of let it flow naturally, it really came out very, very beautifully. So, and I think that was in part because you were just allowing yourself to keep things simple in those moments. So just a couple of bits of language feedback. Okay. There were some rogue eyes creeping their way into your words today. So, cierramos, mantenemos, cientamientos. So just be a little bit careful with those eyes that are creeping there. So it's cerramos, mantenemos, and sentamientos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Great.
Thank you.
One other thing that, just from a stylistic point of view, I found that the inhalamos and exhalamos words that you were using, they were a bit kind of overly drawn out today. I think they work better if you don't kind of extend them quite so long. And try not to leave a gap between the inhalamos. Because what I was hearing was inhalamos, exhalamos. And it just kind of, it doesn't have that same sense. By all means, draw them out a little bit. Inhalamos y nos acostamos. Exhalamos y nos relajamos. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. I overthink things a lot. Like I always second guess myself and then I end up choosing wrong and then figuring out I was right to begin with.
Probably not.
So I need to learn how to trust myself more.
Indeed. Good. But otherwise, I thought that the meditation was really lovely. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Oh,
thank you.
My pleasure. Catherine, well done. I noticed that you really kind of just relaxed into things, and by the end of the sequence, you were back on form again. And I think that's kind of it's kind of to be expected after you've had a little hiatus in your practice. But yeah, congratulations. I think it really began to flow. It came out very, very nicely towards the end there. So one thing from a stylistic point of view, or from a teaching point of view, be very careful not to rush your inhalamos and exhalamos, because it's quite common when we get somebody into a posture and we know that they have to take a breath there, but we kind of want to skip on to the next part of our sequence and say, okay, inhalamos y exhalamos. Buena. Estira. But the thing is, you've either got two options there as a student. Either you follow the breathing and you rush it, or you stop following the instructor when they cue the breath. And neither of those are really desirable outcomes. So either just leave the breath out of it completely, or if you are going to cue the in-breath and the out-breath, think inhalamos y exhalamos. Inhalamos, eleva la mano derecha, etc., etc. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I noticed too when I did that. Also, interestingly, I taught a friend, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and he said that he noticed that, and I teach him in English. He was like, I noticed that in Spanish, you were saying inhale, exhale a lot more than you do in English. And I think part of it's just because I don't have the filler language that I can, I'm not as practiced that, but so now it's extra something that I'm thinking about when I say it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely something that can happen. But as with all teaching, it's better to have no language sometimes than filler language. So, but the important thing is you're catching yourself doing it. Okay, a couple of words. Empecemos and comencemos. Those are both AR verbs. So it's empezamos and comenzamos. Yeah, you do find them in the E form, but that's the subjunctive, right? And you should only use the subjunctive sort of as and where necessary as a general rule. So it does sound a little tiny bit odd when you say empezamos a relajar tu cuerpo. Why do you think that sounds a bit odd?
I use that too. I use like the to form when I then use nosotros in the beginning. So I should say nuestro.
Right, and just mixing up the we and the you form kind of within the same sentence does just sound kind of a little odd.
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking about directions, like towards the left, towards the right, hacia la derecha, hacia la izquierda, right? It's always the feminine ending there when you're talking about directions. So it would be wrong to say hacia el izquierdo.
Okay.
A ragdoll is una muñeca de trapo.
Say what?
Una muñeca, like it's the same word as wrist, but
Right.
una muñeca de trapo. Un trapo is like a rag or a cloth, yeah, like you use to clean the kitchen. ¿Dónde está el trapo? Ahí está por allá.
Okay.
My wife is always telling me off for getting too many of our trapos mojados. I wet all of the different dishcloths and rags around the kitchen. I'm limited to 2 at a time. Los trapos. El trapero as well is the mop, right? Trapear is to mop. And finally, the word for stress is el estrés. Todo el estrés.
And I can say that. Is that a fine thing?
What's that, sorry?
You try to like release your stress. Can you say that?
Liberamos todo el estrés. Yeah, why not? Liberamos todo el estrés del cuerpo.
And that's liberamos, are you saying?
Liberamos todo el estrés, soltamos el estrés. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations. Thank you so much, Catherine. Diane, thank you so much for your body scan. You have a very lovely tone, very clear pronunciation. So yeah, you're to be commended on those things, and I'm sure that those will stand in very good stead for leading meditations in the future. So I'm going to provide a couple of different bits of feedback here. So starting from the beginning of your meditation, you said, túmbate en la colchoneta, boca arriba, con los brazos y las piernas descruzados. And that just struck me as a bit of an odd way of phrasing that, right? Because you would only say descruzados if immediately before they had been crossed for some reason. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think it would be much more natural to say con los brazos y las piernas relajadas a cada lado de la colchoneta, or con, yeah, something like that, or extendidas. Extendidas is a nice word to use there.
Okay.
It just sounds a little bit less odd.
So I had one more question about that too, Andrew. Los brazos y las piernas, I said descruzados, but brazos would be descruzados y piernas podría ser descruzadas. Entonces no sé qué necesitaba hacer con esto.
As far as I'm aware, the general rule when it comes to choosing between masculine and feminine is you go with the masculine for some reason.
Okay.
So,
I love how Andrea addresses that. Just she fights against. She just says feminine and masculine sometimes, but in this case it would be totally weird to do that. So I changed it anyway to extendidos.
Good. Yeah, I mean, you could say con los brazos extendidos y las piernas extendidas if you wanted to give them both their due. But yeah, I think, as I say, that the rule is, I think that it goes into the masculine if there's more than one.
Extendidos. Okay.
Good. So moving down. Crea conciencia de los sonidos fuera de esta habitación. So your habitación is generally your bedroom, right? So I think that, I mean, that's fine, obviously, if you're guiding someone like right now, they might be in their bedroom. But I think generally the word sala would be a better one there.
I did go back and forth with cuadra, sala, habitación. I was thinking dormitorio was bedroom, and habitación could be another room, but
Yeah.
I'll change it to sala because I don't want to have people thinking.
I mean,
they're
maybe
only-
it's a regional thing. I'm not really sure about that. It's a good question. But yeah, I think tu cuarto, tu habitación, those are both your rooms, right? But yeah, it's a good question.
It's to sala, so I changed it.
Okay. Now. Okay. Sucesivamente te voy a mencionar partes del cuerpo. Now, I don't think the word te is necessary here. So, voy a mencionar partes de tu cuerpo if you wanted to have that there. But we don't really need an indirect object at this point, yeah? Because otherwise it sounds like, te voy a mencionar. It's like, I'm going to mention you. Does that make sense? So it kind of sounds a little bit odd. So,
will you say that again, please?
so yeah, I think it's
no,
better
I just
to say,
sucesivamente.
sencillamente voy a mencionar partes de tu cuerpo o de su cuerpo.
Okay,
Cuerpos, yeah?
got it.
Okay. And again, it sounds a bit odd to me mixing. Después de oír cada parte, vas a llevar tu conciencia a lo que has escuchado. I think it's better to say, después de oír cada parte, lleva tu atención a aquella región o aquella parte. Yeah? And then you avoid repeating. You avoid repeating the verb there.
I'm going to write this before I forget it because I like that so much better than what I've written.
Okay.
Aquella parte.
Yeah, okay. Después de oír cada parte del cuerpo, lleva tu conciencia a aquella parte. To that part. Because aquel and aquella are used very much demonstratively, so if we're kind of pointing something out. Yeah? So, which bottle do you want? Aquella botella. That one over there. Yeah? Okay. The next comment that I had is more about once you start to go through the different parts of the body, I think my recommendation is to take more opportunity for exploration, right? So I think the best body scan, meditations that I've heard would, you come to a certain part of the body, let's say the hips, and you would say, aquí vamos a pausar y notamos cualquier sensación en esta parte. De pronto sentimos cosquilleo, calor, frío, pesadez, seco, humedad, right? Nota cualquier tensión en esta parte y relájalo. Inhalamos, llenamos toda la parte del cuerpo con luz, exhalamos. Do you understand what I mean? I mean, those are just like sort of very off the top of my head suggestions. But the invitation is, instead of just kind of going through in a big long list, take times, maybe you've done the left side of the leg and foot. Say, pausamos y notamos, ahora notamos toda la pierna y todo el pie. Sentimos la pesadez de esta parte del cuerpo. Y con la exhalación relajamos todo. Ahora llevamos la atención al pie derecho. And so I think that within the structure that you've already created there's a lot more opportunity for using some of that language that we looked at last time round.
Okay.
But I mean, as to what language you're going to use there, I mean, you can be creative, there's so many possible things you could talk about. And that's why in the presentation, you've got all of these suggestions for the different emotions that people could feel, the different physical sensations, the different thoughts that they might have. Yeah?
Okay.
Right.
Yes, I will. I like that.
Perfect. Okay, so very well done.
Can I ask one more question?
Done.
I got very confused about how to go up one side of the body and down the other. Like, is it okay to just go up and just cover all the things that you only have one of? Or do you say el lado derecho del caja torácica?
It very much
Sí,
depends. There are many different ways of doing a body scan meditation. Personally, I teach one that's got something like 64 points throughout the body. And you actually do go to like the left and right side of the rib cage and so on. But other people, they first of all do the left leg, then they do the right leg, they come through the hips, and they come up the body, they do the left arm, they do the right arm, and they do the head. Other people do it from head down to foot and back up again. So it's really up to you. There's no just like one correct way for body scans.
Okay, well, that's good. I did the whole thing and realized I forgot the arms.
Oh, well,
No,
next time.
no, I added the arms. I had to go back and add them, but.
Okay. Great. Okay, let me share my screen with you now. So what I wanted to come back to today, was pranayama, okay? So I think that when we looked at pranayama during the language course together, we, kind of hammered through it pretty quickly. So I wanted to give you the chance to come back to pranayama today to consolidate a little bit what we'd looked at in the language course and to take a bit more time to experiment and play around with guiding pranayamas, okay? So do any of you remember any of the steps that we looked at when it came to guiding a pranayama exercise for beginners? What were some of the steps that we examined? Liana, where did we start when it came to guiding a pranayama exercise?
Bringing awareness to our breath.
Mm-hmm.
In a seated position or comfy position,
Mm-hmm.
and then close your eyes, and then
So you could dive straight into guiding the exercise straight away, first thing.
Are we doing Ujjayi?
So, well, let's imagine that we're doing Nadi Shodhana, so the exercise that you can see Sophie doing there on screen. How would you generally start if you decided, today I'm going to guide Nadi Shodhana in Spanish?
I would definitely tell everybody to bring their attention to me first so I can show them. And then I would tell them, bring your hand to your face and bring I'm not sure what this finger's called in Spanish.
So part of it obviously is guiding the technique itself. Yeah, but I think we need to back up a step or two first of all. So the first thing is that we looked at is introduce, and again, this is for people who don't really know very much about pranayama, maybe it's the first time they're practicing it. You might want to present first of all the concept of pranayama and explain why it is that you're practicing, so that you may or may not want to include that step. So remember that we looked at that the idea is that pranayama was control de la energía vital, and pranayama was liberación de la energía vital. So it depends on your school, your tradition, as to which one of those you're going to prioritize.
So Andrew, is this the part where we'd tell them that we can influence our state of mind and our nervous system with breathing? And pranayama is life energy force.
Mm-hmm.
That's a kind of basic and why we're doing it. Give a simple explanation about why we do this.
Yeah, so this is the point where, and again, this is really for students that have a more beginner level who've not necessarily ever done pranayama exercises before. If they're more intermediate students, I'd probably skip this step, yeah? But again, if you do want to tell people what pranayama is, you can start using these phrases that we looked at. Es una herramienta o una técnica que nos ayuda a conectar con el presente. Son técnicas de respiración. Hay una conexión entre la mente, la respiración y el sistema nervioso. Nos prepara para la meditación y es una técnica que nos ayuda con la concentración y con llevar nuestra atención adentro. Right, so that's what you might do again if they're beginners. But I think for all levels of experience, I would introduce the specific exercise and tell them why I'm practicing it. So if I am going to do Nadi Shodhana, I probably want to say, you know, why is it that we're going to breathe through alternate nostrils? Because otherwise it's a pretty odd thing to do that some people might have some kind of resistance to, or it might generate kind of confusion in your class. So it's nice para, bueno, empezar presentando la técnica y hablando sobre los beneficios y las contraindicaciones. ¿Qué es una contraindicación?
Contraindicaciones.
What's a contraindication?
Exercise, talk about benefits.
Catherine, what's a contraindication in your opinion?
Like what it might be reducing, you know, like this is gonna, like for instance, Nadi Shodhana, like will help balance you and reduce, like, I don't know. I'm guessing here, I don't really.
That would be more of the benefits of the exercise, and those are super important to teach as well. A contraindication is generally when not to practice the exercise. So if somebody's got high blood pressure, if somebody's got heart problems, if somebody's got like just a block, like a heavy cold and a blocked nose, you don't want them to try and do the exercise. So, you know, it's important maybe to say with Nadi Shodhana, si tienes un resfriado, si tienes la gripe, de pronto es mejor saltar este ejercicio y respirar normalmente. Yeah? So it's better just to skip this exercise and breathe normally. Then we come along to what Juliana was talking about, which was demonstrating the exercise that we're watching. Demostramos la técnica mientras la clase observa. And then you can use this nice phrase. Primero voy a demostrar y ustedes me van a observar. Después practicamos juntos. Then you can actually lead the whole class together. So, guiamos la técnica una o dos veces. And you can actually say, bueno, vamos a practicar juntos. ¿Listos? Entonces, traemos dedos índice y corazón hacia la palma en Vishnu Mudra. Listo. Etc., etc. Once you've done that, you're going to give people an opportunity to do it in their own time. So, permite que los estudiantes practiquen en su propio tiempo. You might want to talk about the mental attitude that students want to keep. So, mantenemos la mente muy relajada, la respiración muy natural. Because, of course, with pranayama, you never want people to be forcing their breath. Yeah? Okay. And then finally, you give an opportunity to for students to reflect. Once they finish the exercise, you need to give them a moment just to para autorreflexión, yeah? To kind of bring their own attention within and feel, pausa, observa, siente. ¿Qué puedes sentir en este momento? Yeah? ¿Notas una diferencia? And that's the moment when they can reflect on what they've just done. So I've prepared here my version of Ujjayi breath following these 7 steps, okay? So see if you can see them. We'll go through the text here. Hoy vamos a practicar una técnica de respiración que se llama Ujjayi. La respiración Ujjayi produce un sonido característico, como las olas del mar que vienen y van. Por esto, algunos traducen Ujjayi como respiración oceánica. Es calmante, conecta la tensión con la respiración y mantiene la mente unida. So I've skipped the description of what pranayama is about because I'm teaching this to an intermediate class, yeah? And I'm talking about the benefits of Ujjayi and what it is here. Now I prepare people for the practice. Nos sentamos en una postura cómoda con las piernas cruzadas y la espalda alargada. Relajamos los hombros, el pecho y el abdomen. And now is what I'm demonstrating. Entonces voy a demostrar yo y ustedes me van a observar. Acercamos el mentón al pecho. Inhalamos profundamente y expandimos el pecho. A continuación, exhalamos con la boca abierta y imaginamos que estamos tratando de empañar un espejo. Can anybody remember what empañar un espejo means?
Fog.
Yeah, fog the mirror.
Fog up a mirror. Alternativamente, pronunciamos la sílaba ja y observamos el sonido que se produce y la sensación en la garganta. El siguiente paso consiste en emitir este mismo sonido al exhalar con la boca cerrada. It's the same sound with the mouth closed. Producimos este mismo sonido durante la inhalación. So now they're making the Ujjayi sound with the in-breath. Alargamos las inhalaciones y exhalaciones y mantenemos el sonido sibilante en la garganta. What does sibilante mean?
Whistling sound.
Yeah, whistling or whispering. Yeah. Poco a poco extendemos la duración de la respiración. And then we can practice together. So, repetimos juntos 6 a 12 veces. Mantenemos la mente calmada y relajada. Inhalamos profundamente, exhalamos totalmente. Notamos la sensación en la garganta y el sonido susurrante. What is susurrante?
That's whispery.
Yeah.
I think.
So they both kind of mean something similar. Sibilante is kind of more whistling and susurrante is more whispering, but they both kind of transmit the sound of the breath moving across the back of the throat. Volvemos a respirar naturalmente, pausamos y observamos. Notamos si hay una diferencia en nuestra mente, una sensación de paz y calma. Any questions there?
So good.
So it's reasonably straightforward, no?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm not using any sentences that are particularly complicated. I'm really trying to, again, just keep it simple. Verb, object, direction if necessary. There's a little bit of specialist vocabulary with things like empañar, with words like sibilante, susurrante. But otherwise, they're all just the regular words that we've learned so far in our presentations. So I'll send that to you a bit later on this evening. Today, we're going to work on Anulom Vilom, Anuloma Viloma, which is the alternate nostril breathing. Okay? So I want you to take about 5 minutes now to brainstorm in English what vocabulary you might need for alternate nostril breathing. Okay? So take a few minutes to brainstorm on your own. Write down anything that comes to mind. It might just be individual words such as nostrils, closing, opening, covering, or they might be more complete phrases. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes and then we'll share. Okay, so are we all ready? So let's start with Juliana. What would be some words that you would expect to use for Nadi Shorna? Let me just unmute you because I think you're muted there. Oh, I think you might need to unmute yourself. Oh, there we go.
Okay. In English or Spanish?
Either.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. You want me to direct it from like how I would get people on the mat, starting from like.
At the moment, I'm just asking any vocabulary that you think you might find useful when you guide this exercise.
Okay, la mano, el dedo anular. I don't remember. Is that the finger you use? I don't remember.
If you
or is
have
it the
a
pinky?
look here, the highlighted part of the presentation, you've got the 5 fingers. You've got el pulgar, your thumb, el índice, your index, el dedo corazón, your middle finger, el dedo anular, your ring finger, and el meñique. So generally in Nadi Shodhana, we take the index and middle fingers and we either rest them on the third eye or we fold them towards the palm in Vishnu Mudra, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, so traemos la atención, respiración.
Good. So those phrases that we were looking at last week for the body scan meditation. So llevamos la atención a, o nos concentramos en, o nos enfocamos en. Those are all good words that we can use in pretty much any meditation. Good? Okay. Catherine, what were some of the words or phrases that you think you might need to make this exercise in Spanish? And again, I think you're muted, so you might need to unmute yourself.
Thanks. A third eye.
Ah, very nice. So the third eye, do you remember what that looks like in Spanish or sounds like?
I don't know. I mean, I can guess, but I don't know if that's right. Oh, okay, tercer.
Yeah, it's el tercer ojo, your third eye. So the other thing that people use to talk about this part of the face is el entrecejo. And that's the part, kind of the part between your eyebrows, el entrecejo.
I was also thinking here of like the explanation. Like sometimes I talk about a right brain and a left brain.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Good, excellent. So that's a really nice thing to have a look at. So what we can do is talk about los hemisferios del cerebro. Los hemisferios del cerebro. And you can talk about el lado derecho o izquierdo. Good.
I also say things like, I mean, hold, right? And then also I think like words that there's like little phrases I feel like I use when I do this, like hold, and then like at the same time, or while you're doing this, while you're doing that. That I know you've used in other phrases, but.
So, to hold is retener la respiración. So you can retener, you can hold it either adentro or you can hold it afuera. So you can either hold it in or you can hold it out. Another nice word to use is pausamos, yeah? So pausamos, retenemos la respiración adentro y contamos a 3, yeah? I would avoid, for now, getting too tied up with the word whilst, yeah? And instead of doing that, just guide with main verbs what you want to say. Say, pausamos, retenemos el aire y, and then you give another command, yeah?
Okay. The other thing that, and I noticed this when Andrea's teaching, is like a word for maybe like rounds, like we're going to do 5 rounds instead of just saying like 3 veces, so we have 3 times, but like rounds or cycles, yeah. I think we use those words when we talk about pranayama.
Good, yeah, so a round is una ronda. Yeah, so 3 rondas. Okay. Hacer una ronda. Hacemos 3 rondas más de la técnica.
And then what's the easiest way to say switch?
Cambiar.
Just cambiar, okay, that's easy.
Yeah, cambiar de lado. Cambiamos de fosa nasal. So that's the other thing. Una fosa nasal is your nostril, right? It's literally a nasal channel, yeah? And underneath it, you've got cambiar de lado, cambiamos de lado, or cambiamos de dedo, yeah? You can also say alternamos las fosas nasales, yeah, to alternate the nostrils. Diane, were there any other words or phrases that came to mind when you were thinking about this technique?
I think that everything I have here has been checked off. So I think everyone has covered everything that I have. I did have a question about the verb cerrar, in la fosa nasal, cerrar, or would you use atascar, like block?
No.
Cerrar.
Not. Atascar, that sounds like a kind of a sewer pipe would get atascado, right? So, but not a nostril. So if you do want to use a different word for cerrar, I would use tapar, tapamos.
Tapa. Oh, I love that word. I always forget.
Tapa is a lid, right?
Yeah, but
also like a little bit of bread that you put on top of your drink to stop flies getting in. Funnily enough, that's where tapas came from in the south of Spain. Did I tell you that story? I don't remember. The evolution of tapas. So tapas comes from Andalusia in the south of Spain, where it's very hot, and quite often you'll be sat outside in the evening having your nice glass of chilled sherry. And of course, what do you not want getting into your sherry is the insects, right? So originally they would just give you a little disc of bread to pop on top of your sherry glass, because sherry glasses are quite thin anyway. And eventually they started putting things on top of the bits of bread so you could eat them when you were done. So that was apparently the origin of tapas, and that's why they're called una tapa, which is a lid, because you would like put it like a lid on top of your. Anyway, if you haven't been to Andalusia, I highly recommend it. Go in the springtime. Easter or round about then is a good time to go, and definitely enjoy some tapas and chilled sherry.
Andrew, is San Sebastian in Andalusia?
It is not, as in the opposite end of the country. San Sebastian is in on the very northern coast. Yeah, Donostia, it's also known as, and they are kind of almost fiercely independent of Spain up there. I mean, that's where ETA in the 1980s wanted to wage their campaign of terrorism to divide away from the rest of Spain.
Debería haber estado en San Sebastián en este momento.
Oh, really? Oh, it's beautiful out there. But up in the San Sebastian, they have what are called pinchos, which are bigger. Yeah, they have like a pincho, which is like a stick in the middle of them, and they construct these like food towers. They're really, really amazing. They have competitions and prizes for the best pincho maker. And I mean, you can go into a bar and I don't know if this is ever going to happen again after the whole coronavirus thing, but the entire bar was just filled with like pre-made pinchos, and you just select the ones that you want, you eat them, and you pay by the number of sticks that you have in your hand at the end.
Oh, my husband read about that. I completely forgot. He was very excited about doing exactly that.
Well, San Sebastian is the place, but I don't know if they're going to be allowed to do that, at least until coronavirus makes a hasty retreat. So, to finish off, other vocabulary that might be useful. Remember that when you're telling people to breathe through one nostril or the other, you're going to use the word por, right? So, inhalamos por la fosa nasal derecha o por el lado derecho. Yeah?
Wait a minute. Fosa nasal. La fosa nasal. El. What? I missed it.
Yeah, exactly what you say. La fosa nasal derecha o izquierda.
You cut out a second on my end here.
So, here's another phrase. This is the contraindication. Si estás un poco constipado y no puedes respirar fácilmente por la nariz, sería mejor evitar este ejercicio. So if you're a bit like congested, constipado doesn't mean constipated in English, it means congested, yeah? So that's a false friend there. Okay, and then again, si necesitas un pañito para limpiar la nariz, if you need like a tissue to clean your nose, I don't know. These were things my other group asked me about.
So blow your nose, sopla la nariz, right?
Soplar la nariz, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is what Catherine was talking about, equilibrar los hemisferios del cerebro, to balance the hemispheres or the sides of the brain. Other words that might be useful, la purificación is the noun and purificar is the verb. Limpieza, a cleansing, and to clean is limpiar, the verb. Armonizar las energías is another nice little phrase that we often do when we're doing Nadi Shodhana. It helps us balance our energies, harmonize our energies.
Is that here somewhere? Yes, I see it. Okay.
Another nice little phrase, nos mantenemos conectados con o conscientes del ritmo del corazón. We can keep ourselves connected with or conscious of the rhythm of our heart. Yeah. And that's just about it. I think that's all of the vocabulary that you need.
I think you may have covered this because I think I heard it in Juliana's flow, but the word rub, sometimes I say like to give yourself like a massage at your third eye to start, or rub your third eye.
I think masajear in that context would be better, because to rub is frotar, but like si frotas la cara es como un poco fuerte, ¿no? Un poco, it's a bit rough, yeah? Like frotar la cara is like what you do when you're kind of really tired and frustrated, or maybe when you've just like got up in the morning and you need to kind of rub your skin awake. So masajeamos el tercer ojo con la yema del dedo, like to massage your third eye with the fingertip.
¿Con J o G de gato? Masajear.
Masajear is con J.
J.
Okay, so what I would like you to all do now for the final part of class is to produce the language to get people seated and comfortable for the exercise, yeah? And then to introduce what Nadi Shodhana is, or Anulom Vilom, whichever you want to call it. It's kind of the same thing, more or less, yeah? And then for homework, you're going to finish constructing the language to guide the technique, okay? Does that make sense? In fact, let's do it a little bit differently. I am going to guide you in Nadi Shodhana now, so you can see how I might do it, yeah? And then for homework, I want you to make your own language for this, right? Entonces, vamos a adoptar una postura cómoda, sentada, con las piernas cruzadas, sacamos los glúteos, rotamos los isquiones hacia atrás, alargamos los costados del torso y llevamos los hombros hacia las orejas, hacia atrás y abajo, y nos relajamos. Bueno, hoy vamos a practicar una técnica de pranayama que se llama Anuloma Viloma. ¿Qué es Anuloma Viloma? Bueno, hay una conexión entre nuestra mente, nuestras fosas nasales y nuestro sistema nervioso y los hemisferios del cerebro, ¿cierto? Entonces, respirando por una y otra fosa nasal nos ayuda a buscar un poco de equilibrio. Bueno, vamos a equilibrar el sistema nervioso simpático y parasimpático, los hemisferios del cerebro, vamos a calmarnos y al mismo tiempo vamos a salir con un poco más energía. Entonces, primero voy a demostrar el ejercicio yo y luego vamos a practicar juntos. Entonces, para esta técnica voy a elevar mi mano derecha y voy a traer mis dedos índice y corazón hacia la palma así, en Vishnu Mudra. Alternativamente, si eso no está muy cómodo, porque para algunas personas eso no les gusta mucho, pueden descansar estos dos dedos en el tercer ojo. ¿Listo? Y vamos a utilizar el pulgar y los dedos meñique y anular para cerrar y abrir las fosas nasales. ¿Listo? A mí me gusta empezar con mi lado derecho, ¿sí? Entonces, para empezar, voy a cerrar mi lado izquierdo y voy a inhalar por el lado derecho. Ustedes me están observando, no están practicando todavía, ¿cierto? ¿Sí? Listo. Bueno, voy a inhalar por el lado derecho, voy a pausar y tapar el lado derecho y contar a 3. Después de contar a 3, abro mi lado izquierdo, exhalo. Inhalo por el lado izquierdo, cierro, pauso. Abro el lado derecho, exhalo. Y esa es una ronda. ¿Listo? Vamos a hacer varias rondas. Entonces, inhalas por un lado, exhalas por el otro. Inhalas por el otro, exhalas por el primero. Bueno, ¿listos? Y listas. Entonces hacemos Vishnu Mudra o descansamos nuestros dedos en el tercer ojo y tapamos la fosa nasal izquierda. Inhalamos por el lado derecho, tapamos, pausamos y contamos a 3. 2, 1, abrimos el lado izquierdo, exhalamos. Inhalamos por el lado izquierdo, cerramos, pausamos y contamos a 3, 2, 1, abrimos el lado derecho y exhalamos. Inhalamos por el lado derecho, tapamos, pausamos, abrimos la fosa izquierda y exhalamos. Inhalamos por el lado izquierdo, cerramos, pausamos, contamos, 2, 1, abrimos el lado derecho y exhalamos. Sigue practicando a tu propio ritmo, con tu propia respiración. Inhalando por el derecho, exhalando por el izquierdo. Inhalando por el izquierdo y exhalando por el derecho. Mantenemos la mente muy calmada, muy relajada y abierta. Y respiramos con mucha tranquilidad, sin esforzarte, sin forzar la respiración. Respirando siempre dentro de tus límites. Y si quieres, mientras respiras, puedes hacer una visualización. Y puedes visualizar que estás inhalando una luz blanca y estás exhalando un humo sucio. Estás limpiando tu cuerpo. Hacemos una ronda más. Cuando estén listas, pueden bajar las palmas a las rodillas. Mantén los ojos cerrados y lleva la atención adentro. Observa y nota cómo te sientes en este momento. Nota si sientes una diferencia en tus emociones, en tu mente. Si sientes paz y tranquilidad. Ahora sí, podemos juntar las palmas y vamos a frotar las manos para generar un poquito de calor. Acercamos las palmas a los ojos. Notamos la sensación de calor contra nuestra cara. Y abrimos los ojos. Bajamos las palmas a las rodillas. Muchísimas gracias. a todas. Gracias por practicar conmigo.
That's it.
So, does anybody have any questions from anything that they heard during my guidance there?
At one point, do we have both of our fosas nasales closed?
Generally
Okay.
speaking, in the middle of each breath, you close them both. Yes, that's right.
Andrew, I think it like at some point you were saying like inhale, and then were you saying like pause? You said like 3 verbs in a row. I wasn't sure what the purpose of all those 3 verbs were. Just go
Yeah.
over
So I said cerramos, close, yeah. Pausamos, pause, y contamos, and count for
Okay.
3, 2, 1, and let's open and breathe out. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. I mean, you don't have to say count, right? You could just count,
No.
right? Yeah.
I mean, that very much depends on the technique, because some people teach it with breath retention, some people teach it without.
Right.
So you can just get people to close the one side and immediately open the other side and breathe out. Generally speaking, the more breath retention that's involved, the more advanced the practice is. So if you're teaching it to a more beginner level class, don't bother with breath retention at all.
And sometimes you can even build up to it, right? Like you could just do right side nostril breathing, then left side, and then.
Exactly.
Cool.
So the joys of working with a consistent group is that you can build them into exercises like that as well. Okay, so for your homework for next week, we're going to do that then. We're going to practice constructing a pranayama exercise, the Nadi Shodhana one, yeah? We're also going to have a little look next time at language for opening and closing class. So have a little bit of a think about, okay, well in English, I like to open my class by saying the following things. I like to close my class by saying the following things. So, I mean, people have these like little rituals they use to open and close class. So have a little think about that. I'll share the notes with you as always. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has any other things they'd like to ask before we end.
I was just going to ask, do you mind, I mean, I'm happy to write up the Nadi Shodhana one, but do you mind if I try to practice deep belly breathing?
If you want to practice what now?
Oh, like the deep belly breathing as the pranayama that I teach?
Sure, why not? Whatever works for you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, have a lovely weekend. Oh, not weekend, it's, sorry, I've completely mixed my days up. Today's Tuesday, which means actually we're looking at meditation next time, not opening and closing class. So have a lovely Wednesday, my dudes, and I will see you next time.
Andrew, I have a question for you too.
Oh.
Is it okay that I send you questions for email, or do you want me to wait for our class time?
Whatever works for you. I don't mind. I mean, if they're longer questions, I tend to answer them in class. If they're just short little things like how do I say such and such, I'm quite happy to answer an email.
And do you like contraer for reach your knee to your elbow to your knee? Contraer?
No.
No? Okay.
Contraer is to contract, and you would use that specifically for a particular muscle. So contraemos el abdomen, like engage your abdomen.
Okay.
O contraemos el bíceps, yeah, engage your biceps. So acercar o traemos el codo hacia la rodilla, but contraer.
Okay.
Okay. Ciao, Catherine. Thanks so much.
One more. I'm just full of questions. I've really been enjoying the classes with Kelly.
Uh-huh.
And some of them are not on Zoom. Some of them are just on Facebook Live. Is that right?
I think all of Kelly's classes are on Zoom now.
Okay. And are there any that are just on Instagram and Facebook and not on Zoom?
I mean, there are tons of our previous classes since mid-March saved. So that's where you'll find the archive. I mean, there's something like, I think there must be about 180 classes up there. So I imagine amongst those you'll find plenty of Kelly's classes, but otherwise, yes, they're on Zoom.
Yeah, because I'm trying to do a Spanish class a day, one way or another. And I really enjoy it. I feel like it really helps me to stick with the consistent teachers of Flying Tree.
Perfect.
And if there are any workshops like that chakra workshop that was canceled, anything like that on the horizon for summer, or
that organized workshops, people are just, yeah, I mean, it's extremely difficult to make it worthwhile the teacher's time as well, because people are, especially here, they're not really prepared to pay very much for their workshops, and so getting enough sort of funds together to cover the teacher's time has been very challenging, I think. So, but I will let you know, but I don't think we're planning on holding anything like that in the short term anyhow.
I think Happy Yoga, they are going to have a presencial training at the end of July.
Well, maybe.
I mean, they have it on their website. I remember what you said about Colombia not opening up, and I wonder how they can put it on the website that they're doing.
I mean, Happy Yoga does a lot of trainings for people here from Medellin. So, I mean, they're not going to be relying on people traveling internationally for that. They'll be relying on people coming from the city. But, I mean, number one, who knows if, like, the studios are going to be allowed to be open at that point? And if they are, like, is it going to be with enough, is there going to be enough space to, like, hold the training? I don't know. But I mean, they can plan for sure. Why not?
I just hope I'm not doing the wrong thing by not doing the 200-hour training with you. I hope I'm not going to regret it.
Well, if you change your mind, Andrea and I will still be launching a 200-hour training. We're not exactly sure which month. We need to, because at the end of the day, Claire decided that she just didn't want to commit to that right now. So anyway, we decided not to go ahead with that plan, but we are still planning on going ahead with an online 200-hour teacher training, if that's something that you feel that reflecting on things you feel that you might be interested in.
Right. I think I just need to know the future. And that would be in English, because you're just not going to do in Spanish trainings. Are you doing the regular 5-month training for people that live in Medellin, right?
Well, it's more a sort of a year, but yes, that's right, the Anusara training, but we're already more than halfway through that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll be doing that training in English because it's we'll be relying on international people to join up to those, and they won't if it's in Spanish, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, I think my really good plan is just for us to keep working together and really focusing on sequencing. And I don't even know when one course starts and the next course begins. When does this course end that we're in right now?
It ends at the end of June, and then so this course ends on the 25th, and then you and I had planned to start our work as of the 6th of July. So that would be just over a week afterwards. So there'd be a week's break. I mean, if you want to start the week directly after, that's fine by me. And you didn't want to leave a gap. I mean, I don't have any other plans, so I'm free whenever you are, basically.
Okay, I will just check. My son is moving, and I'm helping them somehow move.
Sure.
So I'll see if that week. I'll talk to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can help a little bit, but they know I'm doing it too. So I hope maybe next school year I can just practice, like tell everybody I'm not certified and just work with it. Because if I don't work with this, I will lose it.
Yeah.
I know that. So I'm going to have to find a way to keep it. I hope you'll be available so I can keep in contact with you.
I'm sure.
Keep this going. And then I want to come to Medellin. I would love to come there in a couple years. That would just be a dream.
Well, hopefully we're still here in a couple of years' time, but who knows with the world being as it is right now.
Are you maybe not? Are you struggling? I mean, everybody's struggling, right?
Yes, we're struggling. It's not easy. Our income has been just completely devastated by this, and it's just a question of time, really, before money runs out. But I mean, that's as and when. I mean, we're okay for now, but the question is, how long is it going to be before they allow us to open again? And when we do open again, is anyone going to come? I mean, I don't know. That's another question that we need to find an answer to. So.
When there's a vaccine, I think people will come. I think people will go back to normal. God, if I would, if I didn't have commitments and everybody freaking out, I'd wanna, I don't know. I wouldn't be as afraid of traveling. I'm afraid of traveling for outside pressure other than my own fear. But I wish you could somehow reach out more in the United States for this. Like, I wish Yoga Alliance would be better, because it is so difficult to search things in Spanish. And I don't know why it isn't more popular. And I kind of know why they're not interested in it. But it's just, they could make their search system so much more efficient for people to find. I've searched for what you're doing, Yoga Alliance, for like a year, and they don't communicate this.
No.
Very bad at that.
The Alliance is kind of a bit useless, but they are trying to get better. But they don't have the best reputation for being the most organized and committed, or representative body in the world. But we work with what we've got, and yes, it has been very difficult for us to get the word out about this kind of thing. So I know that it's a course that is of interest to a lot of people, but I mean, I suppose you just got to hunt for, I mean, if we Google yoga in Spanish course, what comes up?
Well, there's an online.
On the first page of Google. That's good.
There's something, I forgot what, it's out of Spain. It's an online 200-hour training.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Spain had a few different things, but I really would rather have America Latina.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyhow, thank you so much. I must head off now and cook something. So I will see you on Thursday.
Thank you very much, Andrew. See you Thursday.
Be well.
You too.